and welcome to DCAI. That's Defined Cumulative Artificial Intelligence. Besides DCAI, we also use other abbreviations as we see here. DCAB, for example, refers to defined, corporation, and business. We also use CODE GPT. This is as opposed to the more common Chat GPT. The CODE GPT stands for Code Generative Pre-trained Transformer. We will be addressing some of the very interesting AI features our solution suite is built on. Our generative transformer generates code that is foundationally small in size, efficient, reusable, and secure. When we consider some of the legacy code in both public and private organizations and housed in vast data centers, as we see here, it gets transferred into our processes in a much smaller footprint. The system gets infused with AI-based knowledge bases and inference engines that deliver expertise that learns and gets smarter with time, while also being more streamlined and quicker to deliver, as we see here. Due to the fact that we present a very small code size and a small attack surface, it is easier to generate and to regenerate our code as required, and is in fact more virtual than real, and therefore more unbreachable. Because we use our own web services, we have very limited internet exposure as well. Our suite is multi-currency and can be implemented in corporations as well as in institutions in global use cases for international customers. Let's look at anomaly detection, for example. Our approach allows us to use the AI data analysis techniques of classification, clustering, and regression to determine whether certain detailed configurations, logic paths, and values are valid or not. This causes us to raise alerts and alarms and to take required action as needed. This also serves to prevent breaches, scams, and frauds, and to train the inference engines in immunizing itself as is called for. The processes would then, as needed, cause reworking and re-engineering of our procedures, our decision-making, and our workflows. This flexibility removes some of the possible barriers between IT and other departments and results in better coordination with management, with SMEs, with analysts, and with user groups. In turn, this opens the door to management consulting that we will see in the next slide, as well as to high margins, high growth, high operating leverage, high productivity, high compliance, and high security levels. As we will see in our strategic management model that we will look at in the next slide, this model, together with our AI design, allows us to address areas like specialized finance, specialized banking, and management consulting. For example, in succession planning, we also include things like corporate living wills for systemically important financial institutions. We also address issues like Basel, like Dodd-Frank, GDPR, SOX, PCI, HIPAA, and all these features for both US and international organizations. We can also raise alerts and alarms in the event of things like charge-offs, delinquencies, revenue shortfalls, and general macro-level economic downturns. We do this for private equity, for VCs, for banks, for hedge funds, and for other lenders as well. We also address the pressing need to provide the much required criteria to select those sections of the legacy code to carry forward to the cloud or other hybrid environment, as opposed to the obsolete and unsafe areas and sections of code. This lends itself nicely to machine learning and artificial intelligence to help debug and organize the code. This is our strategic management model that we use to facilitate and to ensure that our day-to-day designs and expertise are used to enhance the activities that are in sync with corporate strategies and to contribute to effective synergies across the organization. We show information flow from bottom to top and strategy flow from top to bottom. We also emphasize execution and risk management at every level in the organization. The AI knowledge base and inference engines contribute to as well as receive information and learning from all processes involved. We will be looking at execution in more detail and will focus also on some key risk management areas relating to cloud migration and to foreign currency risk. Let us ask ourselves this question. How often have we heard about these terrific companies that developed wonderful products or acquired other companies that seemed to be a perfect fit, but for some reason, even though finances were not an issue, the outcomes were not successful? Very often the problem was execution. We use the ability and features of AI to preemptively diagnose and resolve issues before the execution of the strategic objectives of the organization are compromised. For example, in this execution slide, we show specialized views for executives, for managers, for customer service, for help desk, and for business continuity. These can be viewed as a sort of a secondary home page as compared with the regular home page. We will look at these again a little later. Let us get familiar with some of the very interesting things that we are doing with events, with My 2 Cents, and with e-commerce. With e-commerce, it represents a top-notch tool that we have internally set up to integrate outside interfaces on a recurring basis, as well as to assimilate and to integrate subsidiaries and acquired companies on an as-needed basis. We use events to manage projects of various types, both IT as well as non-IT. Projects, for example, like wedding receptions, product launches, or even preparing for weather emergencies. The event can be also made unending so that the iterative processes can be used from one year to the next. This is so that updates, improvements, and lessons learned can be used to improve the outcomes of the recurring functions of the event. This also serves to cumulatively improve the expertise and intelligence of the organization as a whole. If we look at the event slide here, for example, we see event type In this case, it has a value of PRJA. This decides the event steps and the activity steps that will be included in the event solution tasks. As we see here, we can see the executing steps like initiation, planning, and design. We then select and recompute linked tasks as well as selected tasks. So in solution tasks, we automatically generate solution tasks for all of the systems that are directly affected by the event. In the next slide, which is linked tasks, we automatically create the solution tasks for the linked events or the linked tasks, and both of these, the solution tasks and the linked tasks, are recomputed by means of that recompute link. The element called corporate main event, as we see in this events slide also, is an indicator that can be used to raise the visibility of the event to senior management on an ongoing basis. Blogs, as we see in the lower right-hand corner, are used with each event and can be accessed by all users either from a local or from a remote site that have a role in the event. Here, as in the case of My 2 Cents, we build a knowledge base that can be used for future inference. Let us step back and look at the home page. We see here the 5 views, as we mentioned earlier, that we looked at in the execution slide. So these 5 views are the executive, the manager, the help desk, customer service, business continuity, as well as our collaboration and email tool called My 2 Cents. We also see assignments, follow-ups, and team assignments. We see the various lists for clients, for vendors, for events, for service requests, for incidents, processes, employees, agents, teams, systems, and products. We show here a list of follow-ups and meetings for the week. And we show in this slide how to respond for a scheduled follow-up. This is My 2 Cents, which is our collaboration and email tool. In this screen, we show the search sent from, search sent to, as also from date and to date. We see a list of employees, agents, teams, incidents, service requests, events, and systems. By clicking the blue arrows with a mouse or other pointing devices like the Vision Pro, like Meta Quest, like Google Glass or similar devices, the email goes to all the members in the specific group. The emails are used to set up the knowledge base, and the search parameters enable the inference engine to return the optimal number of search results. The search and drop-down options, as we see here, can also be restricted by the groups we see. In keeping with the cybersecurity principle of least privilege. For example, we see here the sent to, which is restricted to only agents, and that shows up in the drop-down that is available at this point for just the agents that are involved. Executive metrics is one of the tools that can be used in specialized finance as well as in specialized banking, as we have seen earlier in the slide called immediate opportunities. We show here the main account, the added account, the second added account, the subtracted account, the divided account, and the multiply amount. In this slide, we see total revenue, and in the second slide, we see Tier 1 capital ratio. Both of these are user interactive and can trigger early warning alerts and warnings for banks, VCs, pension funds, hedge funds, and other lenders. This helps in minimizing the effects of charge-offs, of delinquencies, of interest rate fluctuation, and other macroeconomic issues. We also allow the capability of similar measurement for non-financial balance score card items like innovation, like productivity, like training, customer service, business continuity readiness, and others. Foreign currency risk management is another example where we use AI, in this case to minimize the adverse effects of unfavorable currency fluctuation. This screen shows two tables with currency exchange values together with what-if values. Foreign currency risk is a subtle and hidden risk that was looked at on the risk management in our strategic management model. It is a risk that can be suitably addressed using ML and AI functions and techniques due to the fact that from the outset, our system was designed to be multi-currency. Implied here is the fact that a particular foreign currency might affect the company's bottom line, even though the company has performed well and might have even exceeded sales in that country. At any given quarter end, if the company could have made or even could have exceeded estimated sales and profits in the foreign currency, but if the country's currency drops against the US dollar, the stock price could easily drop because of the US dollar denominated values being lower than estimated. For each dollar decrease in stock price, the company could lose $5 billion in market cap, assuming the number of outstanding shares was 5 billion, as we spoke about. For example, let's consider a company with the 5 billion outstanding shares that we mentioned. The base currency, which is the US dollar in this case, has a risk percentage of 0, while all of the other currencies set up here are at 100% risk, which can be adjusted upwards and downwards. We see here an adjusted risk amount of US dollars 51.5 million. We also see here the what-if rate being adjusted to 10% below the exchange rate for the euro to US dollar pair. We see in this screen that with the result of the what-if rate 10% below the exchange rate and the effect it has on the currency values. This slide shows the actual amounts by balance sheet account and in the income statement for the company. You can adjust the what-if rate up or down by certain percentages or by the special 1 or special 2 up and down values as we see here, and being reflected in this total computation screen. This third segment below summarizes the risk exposure. In this example, we made an assumption that the euro to the US dollar dropped by 10% from now until the target date. And this caused the amount at risk to drop down from 51.5 million we looked at earlier to the 42.1 million we see here, a difference of around $9.4 million. We see here the actual and predicted currency pair values in two model plots. The blue plot represents actual and the red plot represents predicted values. And these values can be used in the drop-down values we looked at earlier to show the amount of predicted currency risk for the euro by the target date. This slide summarizes how critical it is to understand the magnitude and direction of increase or decrease in translated amounts in the home currency. One way to resolve foreign currency risk is to match up assets and liabilities, which was also one of the items in the specialized finance list we saw earlier. However, the perfect matching of assets and liabilities and income and revenue might not always be possible. We might still have to go to the financial markets to set up the hedge to mitigate any unresolved foreign currency risk and to avoid the market cap losses to the extent possible. Let's summarize at a high level the technology and hardware configuration. Of note here is the knowledge base, the inference engines, and the iterative processes that are set up and are designed to continuously and to automatically evaluate and improve themselves. We also include the pointing devices that include the newer devices like Vision Pro, the Meta Quest, Google Glass, etc. We also show e-commerce. That e-commerce is set up and designed to facilitate the processing of transaction interfaces from outside sources. The desktop device is envisioned as a Windows device or a Mac device or an Apple mini device. This device would work in tandem with the cloud and enables operational efficiency, security, learning, and selective redundancies. This is very significant when fighting ransomware, social engineering, scams, frauds, and other threats. We also show here that strategy, anomaly detection, risk management, security optimization, and expert learning are very critical in the functions accomplished between the cloud and desktop devices. This layout represents a high-level flowchart to move processes to the cloud and or to the hybrid environment. The process includes digitization and cleaning up of the code, discarding obsolete code, and streamlining the code that is to be migrated. This is represented by the blue boxes. The other two boxes represent the ML and the AI capabilities that are built into the new environment and are designed to build expertise in an automated way based upon the nature of the business. The classification of legacy code into good code, obsolete code, and unsafe code is of major significance and contributes to as well as benefits from both machine learning and artificial intelligence. This diagram represents a risk management strategy as we have recommended earlier as part of our strategic management model. What this option involves is leaving the current processes of the organization unaffected. We take input from the data warehouse service on a read-only basis, and we ensure that all material transactions are accounted for and are included as input into our suite. This sets up a parallel process and a set of parallel processes that can be used to compare and to reconcile and to ensure that accuracy and performance benchmarks are satisfied. There are immediate US and international needs and challenges in areas like product design and assembly, in regulations, in banking and finance, and in compliance. It is essential also that each corporation and institution secures and optimizes financing as well as sourcing and distribution. Our suite is designed to use ML and AI to satisfy the above requirements and needs to the extent possible. This screen summarizes the 7 subsystems in our suite. They include executive, enterprise, finance, business continuity, logistics, agent management, and project management. These match up very well with the existing mainframe equivalents and are envisioned as their replacement in the cloud. We have the added advantage that these subsystems are integrated by default and make a neat, compact bundle as opposed to any fragmentation that might exist in the current legacy setups. This optimizes for cloud memory and resource usage, as well as for CPU and cycle time usage and cost management. The final 2 slides in this presentation summarize the cybersecurity aspects and techniques that are part of our overall AI strategy. Needless to say, our knowledge base, our inference engines, our iterative processes are very much in focus. Besides classification, clustering, and regression, we use other techniques to develop defensive and prevention expertise within the organization. Continuous learning also includes areas like anonymization and cocoonization to recognize and to defend against threats on an ongoing basis. We realize that methods like social engineering and others can be a major threat in infiltrating and endangering all companies and institutions, and as we continue to build and empower the capabilities and expertise in our suite in general, and in the high-touch areas like my 2 cents in particular, the small size and flexibility of our code provides major advantage. And these advantages create immunity in staying ahead of and above would-be attackers. And we will continue to build on these advantages. So thank you all very much for attending, and we wish you the best experiences in your ML and AI adventures, and we look forward to staying in touch. Thank you.